Well, welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas, and I've been involved in an alternative part of the real estate business for over 30 years. Now, a number of my students, they follow the plan that I've been teaching them, and they continue to make money even though they've already made enough money that they could just retire and have passive income. Now, I'm going to show you some examples of that so that you can learn from what we're talking about today, how to invest and retire early. These people could retire, but they keep going because they like the game and they like to keep negotiating and working with people. Now, it's a little surprising to see and listen to people who are already ready to retire, but they don't, and they have the means to do so. It's because they want to keep working. They want that passive income, and I find it pretty amazing. So they have the choice, but they keep working. So that's kind of a good idea. Okay, now they're engaging with people. By engaging with people, they're going to stay young and they're going to keep making deals. They're not out there playing golf or sitting around the pool. So I'll be right back, and I'll show you a perfect example of how you could be doing the same thing so you could learn how to invest and retire early. Okay, now this episode is how to invest and retire early. So I'm answering that question, and it's going to be a simple answer. However, the math is going to take us just a few seconds to get through, so you might want to watch this a couple of times. All right, now the Social Security system has been in place for well over 60 years, and people talk about that, but it's not designed as a complete retirement system. It really is a supplement to your retirement. So you're going to need other money other than Social Security. So I doubt if most people could even think about retiring on what Social Security pays today. Now, throughout this channel, I mentioned my involvement for 30 years in a subset, an alternative to traditional real estate as you know it, buying and selling properties. Now, this is an unusual program and it's unique. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about tax lien certificates, and we're going to talk about tax defaulted property. Now, to give you a little background, the state legislature has created help for the local counties. Now, the local counties have problems collecting taxes. So what did they do? They went to the legislature, and the legislature made the law, and it said, everyone is mandated, and you must pay property tax. If you don't, you'll lose your property, and it will be confiscated and seized, okay? So property taxes aren't always paid by all people. Now, the majority of people will do that. But once the legislature stepped in and said, look, you're mandated to pay it, and you'll lose the property if you don't, well, it changed the whole ballgame. Now, not everyone owns a delinquent property, but there's a certain amount of those in every single county every year. Now, there's a business of buying those properties for pennies on the dollar. All right, so I'm going to share that business just briefly with you, and I'm going to share how you could end up being an investor and be able to retire early. So property taxes are really the main revenue source for the county. What does that mean? That's how they pay the police, the fire department, pay all the county employees, fix the roads. I'm sure you get the idea. County has a lot of bills. They have to be paid. So the revenue from property taxes is what pays those bills. Now, if the county can't collect those taxes, then the county could ultimately end up going bankrupt. Well, that wouldn't be good because you wouldn't be paying the police or the fire department. So the legislature solved the problem pretty much by mandating that if you don't pay the property tax, the county will come along and seize the property. They'll confiscate the property. And what are they going to do? So basically the county levies tax, they try to collect the tax, and if they can't collect the tax, they seize the property and they sell it at auction. So what do they get at the auction? Well, they give 60, 70, 80% discounts. All they want to get at the auction is basically the back taxes. So that's where many of the auctions start. The starting price could easily be just the back taxes on the property. So is that a good price to buy at? It certainly is, especially when the county treasurer does one thing that's very important. They cancel, they delete, they wipe out the mortgage or the deed of trust loan on the property. So if you buy at a county tax defaulted auction, there's no mortgage or deed of trust loan on the property. So I'm going to give you some examples here. This is a 200-year-old system that's been in place for years. It always works. So today I'm answering your question, how to invest and retire early. Well, you want to buy some of these properties with these 60, 70, 80% discounts, and then you can resell them. All right, now, the county doesn't want the property. Why don't they want it? They already own the schools. They own the administration building. They own the roads. They own the parks. So the county doesn't want the property. They just want to sell it, get it back on the tax roll so that they're collecting annual tax bills on the property. So I've taught this to students for over 3 decades. It always works. You don't buy from Ted Thomas. You're going to buy directly from the government. And you're going to buy at a government auction. And you're going to buy the property way below the competitive market. What do I mean by way below? The discounts are 60, 70, 80% discounts. That means you're buying 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, and there's no mortgage on the property. Now, this has been going on for 200 years. All right, now, if you buy a property at an auction for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, whatever you sell it for above that is your profit. You're allowed to keep that profit. I teach my students to not only make a profit on the property, but you can also make a profit by selling it on an installment sale. In other words, one of those bargain hunters comes along and wants to buy it, sell it to them and be the banker and get payments. So sellers do this by using certain documentation. It's called a contract for sale or a contract for deed. You can easily get one from a title company or you can get one from an attorney. Wouldn't matter which one. Just needs to be a legal document that can be signed by all parties and then recorded at the county treasurer. All right, for the purpose of learning, let's look at this example. Now, is the example meant to be a test question? No, it's meant to give you an idea of exactly what's going to happen. So what we have is we have an individual who's an investor, and they start out as an investor and they buy a property at the auction. Now they want to sell the property, and when they sell it, they're going to not only sell it and make a profit, but they're going to also give an installment sale, which means they'll make 2 profits on that property. The property will always be sold at auction to the highest bidder. So when you go to the auction, if you don't get it for 10 cents on the dollar and someone does get it for 25 cents on the dollar, that's the way it is. The highest bidder at the auction always get the property. But I've taught my students to buy as low as possible, buy low, sell low, and then if you're capable, go ahead and do installment sale. So what are we answering? What question are we answering today? How to invest and retire early. So here's a perfect example. So the county will have auctions annually. Some places will have auctions every single month. The property is always sold to the highest bidder. It's always sold without a mortgage or a deed of trust loan on the property. In other words, those deed of trust loans that were on there and the mortgage, they're wiped out. They're canceled by the county treasurer. So in our example today, the property had a value of $100,000. However, the property is sold at auction for whoever the highest bidder. So the highest bidder in this case paid $20,000. Now the winning bidder can then decide what price do they want to sell it. Well, I say don't try to get top dollar. Sell it quickly to a bargain hunter. By that I mean sell it below the market. So buy it low for $20,000. Now in this case, the seller's going to sell it. They're going to sell it for $65,000. Well, there's certainly a lot of difference between $65,000 and $20,000. So that's the profit. So the potential profit here, the hope for sale, is at $65,000. Well, what's the next step? Well, you have to find buyers. Where are you going to find those? Well, we tell our students, go ahead and advertise on eBay, Craigslist, multiple listing service, Zillow, Trulia, lots of signs on the property, flyers in the neighborhood. In other words, your low price is going to attract multiple bargain hunters, and that's what you want. So let's assume a new buyer shows up and they're willing to pay your $65,000. However, they request an installment sale. Why would they request that? Simply because they probably have a bad FICO score and the bank won't give them an installment sale. So you go ahead and give it to them and you can go ahead and make a profit. So the auction buyer, that's you purchased for 20, now you're reselling for 65. You go ahead and tell them what payment you want. So in this case, it's $900 installments, and you'll give them 10 years of financing. That means for 10 years, every month you'll get $900 a month. That'd go a long way towards your retirement, wouldn't it? All right, so now you've got $900 a month for 120 months. That's a lot of money coming out at the end of that time. So let's review. So we had a property sale for $65,000. We paid $20,000. That leaves us a profit of $45,000. If you just sold it outright, you'd be happy. You made $45,000. That'll help towards your retirement. Problem is, money in the bank is only earning 1%. So why not offer an installment sale? So your new buyer wants to pay payments. So that's fine. Let them pay $900 a month for 10 years. That turns out to be $98,000. Well, what's the difference between $98,000 and the $65,000 that they paid for it? Well, it turns out it's $33,000 in addition. $33,000 in addition. How about that? Does that make the deal look good? Folks, this is a massive profit deal. You made $45,000 on the original deal. Now you're making money on the financing. Look at the total profits on this. $78,000 is going to be collected. Think about that. That will get you retired early if you ever wanted to. All right. Small investors at tax defaulted auctions make a lot of money because they only invested a small payment. However, when they go ahead and finance the deal with installment sale, they not only make a profit on the low purchase price and sale, they also make money on the financing. Now, my name is Ted Thomas, and right below me there's a free gift. But before you go, I want to mention, if you're going to buy a property, you want to buy the property at the cheapest price possible. All right, you must see the property. You must have boots on the ground. What does that mean? That means you must see it, not have someone else see it, but if you have a trusted source, well, you can have them look at it. But you don't want to buy a property from a picture or an internet overview of it. You need to have boots on the ground. Why? There could have been a fire. There could have been a hurricane. There could have been a windstorm. It might be next to a chicken farm. I don't know what could be wrong with that property, but there might be a lot of things wrong, but with your own eyes, you can see that. So you want boots on the ground. That was number one. Number two, you want to be very careful at auction that you don't get it in a bidding war and you keep bidding up. You want to always have an exit strategy. What does that mean? That means you want to know what you're going to sell it for before you buy it. Know what your sales price is before you buy it. Why? So that you won't bid up and you'll have plenty of room for margin. We're trying to buy at 10 and 20 cents on the dollar, maybe sell for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar and make money quickly. I'm Ted Thomas. I'll see you in the next video.